Hello, my name is Jessica Smith, and the research that I'm presenting today was conducted independently as an honors project directed by Dr. Sally Farley. The name of my project is Emotion Themes that Elicit the Heartfelt Gesture. Early research on the heartfelt gesture is associated with honesty and when an individual wants to portray themselves as honest. Research demonstrated that individuals who used the gesture were perceived as trustworthy. However, emerging research questions whether this is the true function of the heartfelt gesture. Dr. Farley conducted 2 studies to explore the heartfelt gesture and its true meaning. The first study recruited participants in various settings and asked them to think of an example when the gesture was used and the emotion correlated with it. The most prominent emotion themes included shock, surprise, heartfelt, and empathy. Heartfelt emotions were defined as deeply touched emotions. In the second study, the researchers asked participants to place their hand on their chest and think of a time that the gesture was used. Participants were also asked what emotion corresponded with the example and completed the Toronto Empathy Questionnaire. The researchers replicated results of the first study with a larger sample. Results also revealed that women used the gesture more than men and revealed a significant correlation between empathy and usage of the gesture. After Dr. Farley's studies, Kamamutta became a topic of interest associated with the heartfelt gesture. Kamamutta is described as an experience of being deeply touched or moved and is demonstrated in intense experiences of communal sharing. Kamamutta is described over and over again as an intense emotional state and can be associated with tears, feeling choked up, chills, and even warmth in the chest. Others play a huge role in Kamamutta as well. Some of the most significant events that are known to elicit Kamamutta involve others, such as marriage, divorce, birth, and death. Furthermore, Kamamutta has been explained to bring others together and promote social bonding. Also, many emotions can be used to describe Kamamutta, such as empathy, gratitude, and sincerity. This also falls parallel with self-transcendent emotions. Self-transcendent emotions are when one feels more concerned for others, possibly even more than themselves. It is possible that these emotions can be highly associated with the heartfelt gesture. The current study's purpose is to demonstrate replication and to add to the findings of the heartfelt gesture. The first hypothesis was that the same emotion themes from Farley et al. Will emerge, including shock, surprise, empathy, and heartfelt. The second hypothesis also intends to replicate findings from Farley et al., such that women will be perceived to use the gesture more than men. Lastly, since Kamamutta has become an area of interest in the heartfelt work, it is appropriate to explore intensity and the presence of others in this study. The third hypothesis was that the heartfelt gesture will be recalled being used more frequently in intense social situations. Participants were recruited through various forms of social media, UBalt's psychology research pool, and Hanover College's psychology research page. The study ended up with 187 participants, and the mean age was 29 years old. There were 2 independent variables, the presence of others, which was a between subjects variable, and intensity, which was a within subjects variable. The dependent variable was whether they believed someone else would use the heartfelt gesture in the given scenario. There were a total of 20 emotion-themed vignettes, and they presented 10 different emotion themes. These included shock, heartfelt, empathy, joy, sadness, stress, fear, gratitude, and apology. On the screen are the vignettes for empathy. You can see that the scenarios were made as constant as possible for each intensity, and It just changed whether someone was communicating with someone remotely or face-to-face. After reading each vignette, participants were also asked how likely they believe someone would use the gesture in the given scenario. After all the vignettes, the participants were asked a few more questions regarding which gender they believe would use the gesture and about hand dominance. The results showed that the effect for intensity was significant for all conditions except for heartfelt and apology. 7 out of 10 emotion themes were high intensity versus low intensity. So participants perceived others to use the gesture in highly intense situations. Also, the effective condition was not significant for any of the dependent measures. This means that participants perceived that it did not matter whether the individual was remote or face-to-face when they would use the gesture. Lastly, women were perceived to use the gesture significantly more than men. Here is a graph for the means of each emotion theme and intensity. The graph does not show conditions since there was no significant effect. However, you can take a look, and heartfelt, empathy, and gratitude were named to be most likely to elicit the heartfelt gesture. In conclusion, hypothesis 1 was confirmed. The same emotion themes did occur in Farley et al. And in this study, such as heartfelt, gratitude, and empathy. Hypothesis 2 was confirmed. Women are perceived to use the gesture more than men. And hypothesis 3 was partially confirmed. Individuals are perceived to use the gesture under intense circumstances. However, the presence of others did not moderate the use of the gesture. I must note the limitations of the study. First, the participants were overwhelmingly female. Also, 3 of the remote conditions were not constant with the other remote conditions, including shock, joy, and anxiety. Making the vignettes were extremely difficult. It took weeks of researching, creating, and piloting these vignettes. And overall, different emotions are going to create slight differences in each scenario. And I truly did my best to make the vignettes as constant as possible. Future directions of the heartfelt gesture should examine whether the gesture is truly linked to this Kamamutta sensation, feeling moved or touched. And the research lab is in the process of doing this now. I do have to say thank you to my lab. Even though this was an independent honors project, I've been working with these women for years, and without their guidance and support from day one, I would not be able to run studies on my own and possibly get this study published. We are currently working on a publication for the heartfelt gesture, and the work presented today is listed as study 2 in the paper. So again, thank you so much to everyone in this lab. And that is the end of the presentation. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. Thank you.